Okay, everyone, good evening, one and all. My name is Simon Mishevich. I'm from Optimize Accountants, and shortly we'll be talking with Trevor Cutmore, talk about property investing, who's just notified me he's bought 3 properties. I'll be really eager to hear about those properties. And ludicrously, I would say, he said that he was project managing these as well. Bonkers, I might just say, after project managing a few of myself. We'll come into that just in a wee while. But before we go on to the interview itself, I'm just going to go through some basics around this. I'm just going to see if I can move my screen. Here we go. I'm just going to share new screen. So just bear with me a second while I do that. So let's do that. Here we go. So you should see my screen in full now. Perfect. So in terms of tonight, before we go on, I want to make sure that any clients that are listening in, you do have access to this webinar, which we'll be recording. And that will be on the Optimize Accountants app. So you can download that if you haven't already got it as a client. And you can listen to Trevor and myself on YouTube video, kind of uploaded if you like. And we'll also have it as a podcast as well. So that will all be on the Optimize Accountants app for clients, ready for you to go onto that. If you're interested, if you're not a client, but you would like to talk about our services, then you can go onto our website, optimizeaccountants.co.uk, and then talk about our services in general. And the lovely Jan Minty, funny enough, who you will be talking to as our business development manager, is on this webinar this evening. So I'm sure she'll be listening into the lovely Trevor Cutmore. Here's a little slogan I did see from the Table of 12, and I'll let Trevor talk about that on his own time. But one of the phrases I saw was, when viewing a property, when viewing, I never see property, I only see potential. And which is more likened to what I prefer to say, which is exactly, don't look at the bricks and mortar, always look at the financials. You know, people do talk about having 10 properties. I'd rather have £10,000 from one property than have 10 properties generating the same amount of income. So always look at the kind of amount of money that you want to be making from that and see that potential, see the financial potential. So it's good to see Trevor saying the kind of same thing. Now, where did I hear and speak to Trevor? I, like many people, attended different networking events. I went to the Black Country. I saw Trevor also in London. I attended one of his sessions at, funny enough, the Table of 12. And I've got to be honest, you've got to be serious about joining the Table of 12. You've got to be serious about your property investment journey to join Trevor on that. It's not for the faint-hearted. You have got a lot of work to do on that, but you are there to make more money than you've got now. But Trevor is very insightful. He's a property investor himself, so that really kind of stands in good stead. But why don't you come online, actually, talk about the Table of 12, Trevor, just for a few moments before we hit the questions. So if you want to unmute yourself, then talk about Table of 12.
Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. All right, Table of 12. Really, this started in 2014, so I'd already been doing property for some time. And it actually came to me in a dream. And I woke up in the morning and I said to my wife, listen, I've had this crazy idea, just a maximum of 12 people, and I will be the 13th. It will never be more than 12 participants. And really, it was one group per year that I would run, but I would mentor them all the way through. So it was one mentor, although we'd have specialist speakers in, such as yourself and Sam Hawkins and other people who would bring, add great value to that program. But it was something that they would become accountable to. They had somebody they could lean on, leverage my knowledge and expertise. But it's also a program that I would give myself to. So other than my wife, then they were, and my family, obviously, they were the highest priority. So even when I went on holiday in Australia, Malaysia, whatever, one of the things I set up, I said, look, when you want me, don't call me, because if I'm busy and you can't get me, you're going to get upset. So if you just text me and say, look, Trevor, I need to speak to you. Can you call me as soon as possible or ask me a question? That's fine. Now, 7 times out of 10, I call them straight away, especially even when I'm on holiday. I give them my priority because I believe that you should, it's private access, but it's 12 people I can manage. I'm not. And with it, it is for people who are serious. They do have some fines behind them, because I'm not, they have to qualify, they're interviewed to come on. And this isn't a program where people have a pulse and a credit card. In
Yeah.
actual fact, Simon, I won't put people in debt to come on it.
Yeah, that's very ethical. And to be fair, I would always say that having that approach would be good for the 11, because if you get one bad apple in your apple cart, then it can actually upset the whole chemistry of the table itself.
Absolutely. Well, can I tell you, I have turned people down. There was one very wealthy gentleman wanted to come. He says, Trevor, I want to come on. And I said, I'm sorry, but there's 2 reasons why not. And he said, why is that? And I said, well, first of all, I don't want to upset you, but the one thing is, I believe it, friends should tell you the truth, true friends. I said, but, if I'm going to tell you what that is, you may hurt you, but I said, I'll be honest with you. And he said, well, go on, tell me. I said, look, first of all, I said, on your way, coming here, every time I meet you, you always tell me, I've bought another 2 properties, and I had a problem here, I've had a problem there, I've had a problem coming on the train, I've had a problem. Everything is such a problem. And I said, and immediately when I meet you and other people have commented, you just put them on the down. And I said, and that's not conducive to a very positive thing. I said, and the second one, I said, look, you're a wealthy guy. I said, you are an absolute mess. I said, you've got a state and you do not carry some, an air about it. Now, do you know what? Ever since that, he thanked me. And every time I see him, he's always tidy now. He's always smart and haircut and everything. And he said, Trevor, he said, thank you. He said, I didn't even know.
Wow.
But he carried on his journey, and he did very well. So all the best to him. And we're good friends. But
just whilst you're saying all of this, Jan Minter, who's our very own business development manager, I've got the pleasure of knowing her for about what feels like decades. But she's just said on to everyone on the panel, as a mentor, Trevor is amazing. He's the reason why I'm where I am today. So what a great testament that is. So that's very good.
Called me Uncle Trevor on the chat today, because she came on the program. She's lovely lady.
Well, that's she did say she called you that. So, but to be fair, you're not that old, Trevor. You're very young and sprightly.
Thank you. And I don't colour my hair; it's natural.
Oh, that's brilliant. To be fair, that's upset me because I'm totally grey. So what I thought I'd say to everyone listening to this is, as Trevor and I are going through our Q&A, feel free to chip in with questions, because the more engaged you are with this particular interview, the more you're going to get out of it, the more you're going to learn from Trevor, really. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So let's just go through kind of why did you start in property, and when did you start in property?
Okay. I left school and I got 1 O-level. Partly was because I was really badly bullied and some other stories. Anyway, I became a chef. That was one of the jobs you could do without a lot of qualifications, but I wasn't stupid. But I became a chef. I cooked. I became, quite high up. I cooked for all the rich and famous. I worked in Knightsbridge, Mayfair, and out in Italy. But I became very disillusioned after doing it for about 25 years. And I had no worth in my life. I was cooking for these very rich and famous who really didn't care about, the quality and the work that I put in. And I gave up my job to do community development, which is a 2/3 salary cut.
Wow.
Came up, worked for a charity for 10 years. One of the things, I got out into the streets talking to gangs over 2.5 years. With the team that I built, we reduced youth crime by 85%. But all of a sudden, I had worth. However, I did all the bid writing. I raised hundreds of thousands of pounds so we could employ people and my job and etc. Do all the things that we did, which was very important. But when the economy changed, the funding got harder to get, and it was really hard to get continuation funding. So a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, and I, we got together and we said, look, we have to do something in order to get sustainability.
Sure.
So property all became out of investing to get sustainability. And so we could do something and continue the work we were doing in the streets and with the whole of the community. One of my passions is intergenerational work, bringing young people and older people together. And I have a passion for that. One of my goals is to, my big hairy goals is to leave a trust before I die, very much for that thing. So,
wow.
that's what inspired me to start in property.
Mm.
And I am a bit of a philanthropist. I had the privilege of helping set a school up in Kenya, which
Wow.
is street children. Today it has over 250 children, which have the highest academic achievement, and this is free for street kids. And it's fantastic, and it's a privilege being part of that. And again, I was a small cog in a big machine, but it's very humbling when you can do that. And I took all my three sons over there, and it humbled them. I have to say, when you see where people have nothing and they have so much happiness, we wonder why we get upset over here. So, these sort of things is why I got into property, really to sustain work to help others. Yes, I want to have a good life and enjoy life, and I play golf and I enjoy that, but I want to be able to help others. For me, there's a principle. I believe that if your hands are open to help, then your hands are open to receive. And I very much talk about that principle on Table of 12, that if you're coming in, what will you give to the group? Because when your hands are open to give, you're going to receive.
Yeah. There's a famous saying from BNI, which I'm not 100% fan of, but a giver's gain. If you give first, then you will receive, but don't look for receiving first. Always give.
Absolutely, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And so that was really why I got into property. But I didn't get off to a very good start.
So, first, before we go on to that subject, the Kenya, I've been to Gambia and Kenya. Funny enough, my stepfather used to always take pens to the schools. So like you're saying, I've been to several schools in Africa, and it's amazing when you go take a box of pens into the school, even as basic as that. And we took a load of paper with us as well, but how thankful they are for what we would throw away ordinarily. It's a humbling experience, isn't it? Because you realize that people can be happy with zero, and yet we are, as a society, sometimes we can be very materialistic and focus on the wrong things, when actually we should be thinking about what you said earlier. Actually, to me, was it's your family that needs to come first. It needs to be with people that you give for or give towards, and not yourself so much. And when I went to Gambia and Africa, it must have been the same for you, Trevor.
No, absolutely. Look, whenever I go, I always go around my friends, and for the last thing, because we raise lots of money, but I always go, say, come on, what have you got in work? Give me some money. And I take a few £100s out. And when I get there, I go to the shop, and I promise you, even when I buy a box of pencils, this isn't a pencil, I know it's a pencil.
Yeah.
Pencil, when you give it to a child, that pencil means life. It means I can change my life, because if I know how to read and write, I can work, and I not can just feed myself, I feed my family, and I can change our lives. And so a pencil is life-changing for them, because all of a sudden I've got a pencil. Because there are no pencils unless you buy it. If you haven't got money, you're not going to buy it. This is where 50. If you can get a job, a labourer's job, it's 50p a day. Okay? So when it's £100 a term in some of these private schools, no one's got a chance, especially if you've got 6 or 7 children. So what we do, we take them and we really, we support them. There's small donations going out that makes a big difference, and it's huge. And it really is mind blowing when you think, if you gave a pencil to our children for Christmas, say, there you are, son, that's changing your life. What would it do?
Yeah. If I give that to Hugo, said, "There's your present," I know a kind of few words that I would get from him, but we'll leave that. We'll leave it at that. So, what property strategy did you start with? You said that it didn't go according to plan. So, what strategies did you use, and why didn't it go so well for you?
Well, I had a very good close friend. He was a professional. He was actually an accountant. Funny enough.
Okay.
It's like the accountant.
You didn't hold it against him, did you?
No, not at all. He came to me and he said, "Look, Trevor, I knew nothing about property. This is back in 2007. Although I had bought a property before, which I tried to convert to flats, and they said no. But, I had this yearning. I wanted to do something about property. But anyway, he said, "Look, there's this amazing deal I've seen." He said, we buy these properties. It's got in Cornwall. They're holiday lets.
Yeah.
We have guaranteed buyback in 3 years with £25,000 profit each, and we have guaranteed income rental payments for 3 years, and we
Right.
got company and personal guarantees. So there's no brainer. Okay, let's get it. So let's get two. So I signed. We signed it. We bought them, and it was a big scam. It was a huge scam.
Right.
Since doing my training and all that I've trained and I learned, I found out that this is a 2 up, 2 down holiday let. 6 weeks before I bought it, it was sold for £62,000, and I paid 125. Now, with any refurb, Simon, and I've taken it to the bank, I've taken it all over the place. We spent thousands on solicitors, but it was a scam between the solicitor, the surveyor, etc. And there were a lot of people got burnt. I've still got mine. Mine are about 50,000 and 60,000, 65,000 negative equity still. But I've got a plan now. Within 18 months, I won't have them anymore.
Okay. Are you disposing them then?
Well, yes, but I've got to pay the I've got to pay the shortfall off in order to get rid of them.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, those are quite hard learnings that you obviously money's gone out one way and not the other way. I mean, due diligence and all those kind of things, and watching. Obviously there are shady people out there by the sound of things. Which, let's be fair, as Jim Rohn might say, there are very few dodgy people. But they move around a lot.
Absolutely.
What have you learned from that?
Well, look, I think there were 21 people that got caught in this scam. Okay. Now, obviously, I was one of them. I had my 2 properties, and we had to learn very quickly. So some of these people went bust. Now, I didn't want to go bust. I actually borrowed some money on my credit cards to put the deposit in to buy these properties.
Right.
So, I had a bit of a double whammy. So it's either sink or swim. And what I did is I said to my business partner, look, I've got to go and learn. So this was back at 2009. And I went and, straight away, we were back in Bodmin Court all the time because the guaranteed rents weren't coming in. The guy went bust and his guarantees were gone. So we couldn't enforce it and it was gone. And funny enough, he's one of his sons own one of the holiday let companies now. It's crazy, but he carries on.
Yeah.
That's another story.
But I guess that's my point, though, Trevor, isn't it? I mean, albeit they do get crashed and burned eventually, the roots are still there and they will pop up, even in different names or different guises.
Absolutely. So, look, very much it was sink or swim. So I said, look, I've got to get some education. I didn't know a lot, so I was very green. And I went, and one of the first thing I did was to go on a 1-day property option course. Right. Now that changed my life. I grasped it. I thought, well, I don't need a lot of money, I can do this well. The one thing I'd learned through the community development work I've done was very much that I'm a good communicator. I can match, I can communicate at different levels with different peoples and different age groups, and that was very good. That was something that became very natural to me. So I went out, and I think it was within 2 weeks, I got my very first option deal from doing this 1-day course.
Right.
And then what I did is I accelerated on doing as many of these deals, and then we started to buy as well. Now, very much I was doing long-term deals, so I was increasing our cash flow, not doing flips at the time.
Sure.
The flips is what I do more now.
Okay. And for those that are listening in, I mean, the word options and, options, I should say, there are a lot of different interpretations of what they are. Why don't you just give us a quick précis of what options really are and why you've chosen that strategy in the past?
Right. Why? I think the simple answer to why is it's win-win. Okay. So look, if I come to buy your house, let's say your house is £500,000 and I pay 450, boo-hoo, there's the property investor, knocking you down and whatever. But if I come to your house and I say, look, I can see that your house is tired. Funny enough, I just did this today. We're going to find out tomorrow if I get the deal. It's probate, so I've made a bit of an offer. But anyway, let's suppose I take this opportunity. Your house is worth £500,000. If I put £50,000 of my own money, and we do a bit of a loft room upstairs. We do kitchen, bathroom. We tidy it up and make it nice. And let's suppose we sell, for argument's sake, at 650 or 625. Let's say 650. Then you get your 500. I get my 50,000 back. We've made 100,000 profit. We can split that between you because you've given me that chance.
Right.
It's win-win. Now, that's a very simplistic way, but it's a blank sheet of paper. You've got to know what you're doing, because if you get it wrong, numbers. If you get it wrong, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
You've got to know your pitfalls. You've got to know, when you come to sell, which is I've seen the worst, is very much, let's suppose it's worth 650. Then put it on at 625 and get interest and some competition.
Yeah.
Don't put it at 650 and wait 6 months and say, and then your option runs out and you're lost. It's silly. People need to be sensible and understand how it works.
And do you do options whereby you're renting the property out from someone, and then over the next 5 to 10 years you put an option in, or is yours preferably to sell that property?
I used to have that. I used to do just that. So an option is a legal agreement where I have the right to buy your property, but I'm not obligated. So not like when you buy, you exchange. Now I'm obligated. I have to buy complete, otherwise you can sue me.
Yeah.
With an option, I have the right, but I don't have the obligation to go through. Okay. Now, I used to always do just long-term 5-7 year agreements. The owner would move out. I would get consent to let on that property. I would rent it, make a profit. And in future years, I can sell it for an increased amount of what I've agreed, and I can make that little bit of money there as well.
Sure.
I tend not to do long-term ones now. I just look for short-term ones that I can get in, add value, sell, get out, and then I can keep using that money to keep buying.
Okay, that's a really powerful strategy. I think a lot of people I talk to, they always do the long-term back and see the benefit of just doing the short-term ones. You get in, you get out again. So really interesting. You talk about challenges of recent times. What's the most challenging aspects that you're finding in the last 2-3 years?
Well, look, the biggest challenge, I think, in coming into the property from the beginning was mindset. Mindset was massive. And what I learned and how my mind changed was, I'm a completely different person.
Right.
Once you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I don't think you ever can be the same again. I really don't. I've learned so much. And I think give you the most powerful way that it is changed. My wife, 4 years ago, was diagnosed with cancer. We went along to the consultant, and he turned around and he said, "Marie, your cancer is this, your cancer is this." I said, "Whoa, stop, please." And I said to him, "Listen, we know it's cancer. It doesn't belong to Marie. It's not hers, and it's not staying." And he said to me, "Trevor, I really like that. I've not heard that before." Now, I'm happy to say that Marie is coming up. She's 3.5 years cancer-free now. Okay, she had a lot of, it's quite serious, and she still has the effects of the radiation that she treated and chemo that she had. But, she's great. She's absolutely great. Now, that mindset, the strength of mindset, I wouldn't have had that before. And very much, I love Jim Rohn, as you've already quoted. Jim Rohn said, "Until you learn to love failure, you will never be successful." Especially in options. In property, you're going to have failure, you're going to have disappointment, you're going to have challenges, and the mindset to overcome that. So the one thing I've probably learned most is that I am a problem solver. I live for challenges and problems. I love them. I love them.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to love the problem for you to have the solution.
Absolutely. So, they're the biggest, I would say they're the biggest challenges and probably the most exciting things to overcome. I told you a personal instance. I've had that many with properties, and I've found a different solution. I love looking at stuff and finding different things.
It's amazing because you're Lincoln based now. Kevin Wright, funny enough, went through the same cancer, and his mindset was the same thing. He was very public about his whole treatment process, and he put it down to Napoleon Hill in terms of Think and Grow Rich was the book that they wrote, but he used it to kind of think and purify yourself from cancer. But it's amazing how, like you say, it's all about mindset. Even the most powerful, most deadly, it's amazing what you can do with mindset. So talk about, go from the kind of challenges. Obviously you've done a lot of brilliant stuff with Kenya, going to schools and even in your own communities, as you've spoken. But give me your proudest achievement, one from your personal side and one in business.
I can't give you just one, Simon.
Well, you give me two or three then.
Okay. Personally, look, I'm married to a wonderful woman, 36 years already.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. And that is a great achievement, and she is my closest friend and confidant. And look, it's not without challenges, and I've learned how to be an expert at overcoming objections by being married for 36 years. She is fantastic, and I think the world of her, and she's a very special lady. And secondly is my 4 children. My 3 sons have all grown up. They're in Australia, France, and Munich. They work now and live, and they have turned out to be wonderful young men who I'm so proud of. And then I have an 11-year-old daughter who's the apple of my eye. So they are really, really precious to me, and I think that of achieving, I fought I represented martial arts for Great Britain for 2 years. I never lost a fight, which was a great achievement. But I think that tells you the sort of mindset and the, I won't give up. I would always go, and so that's sort of personal.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you, bless you. Business-wise, obviously, Table of 12 is something that I'm very proud of. I think it's a great product that can help people in many ways, not just in investing in property, but mindset, in different strategies, and help them achieve something through accountability, which is very precious. I love the Table of 12. I'm completely sold into it. I've mentored over 400 property investors now, so I've learned a lot and listened. And it's something I love doing, inspiring people to achieve more than what they believe was possible and to go the extra mile. And that's I think a couple of business ones there. I could go on, but I've got a long list of things.
No, it's incredible that you have, and I think one thing I was always taught is to take stock, to remember what you have achieved, and that's why I put this in, because it's amazing how little I do that. But in terms of, let's moving on to the risks now that property investors should watch out for. It's obviously 2018 and first things that are going on. What are the risks that are out there right now, and how would you kind of help them?
The risks. Okay, well, look, we've got a market that is changing. March, Brexit. What's going to happen? It's unfortunate we've got a little bit of an instability in our government in where we're going. We've just had the interest rate go up by 50% increase. People think it's 0.25. Actually, it's a 50% increase in base rate. I don't see that. I personally don't think that's going to go any further for now. But what is going to happen? I don't know. All I know is cash flow is king. So whatever you want to do in property, I certainly am not going to expose myself for the next 12 months with some longer term developments. I am just buying as much and buying and flipping as much as I can, flipping through options and buying through cash and a mortgage, obviously. I'm trying to do as much as I can to build my portfolio as fast as possible. Now, if I paid, let's suppose, and now I'm in Lincoln, let's suppose and I pay £120,000 for a property. If after Brexit it went down to 100,000, but I'm still making £4,000 a year from that property, and let's say even that goes up, I make £3,000, I'm still okay. And I'm fixing my mortgage interest payments right up until last week. I'm fixing my mortgage interest payments for 5 years. I've done that because I've already thinking ahead. Now, I might win, I might lose, but what I know is what my bottom line is. And That's what I'm growing. So cash flow is king, as always. That will never change. Be careful not to expose yourself too much going over the March period. So if you're going into a development for the next year, 18 months, just know your numbers and stress test it. I think that's what I would do. And, how can you help? Get close to people who know what they're doing. If you're not sure, you must, even if it costs you something. Because, those properties that I told you in Cornwall, if I'd paid £10,000 to somebody to advise me and didn't buy them, I would be over £100,000 better off today.
Yeah, very powerful. And to be fair, I had that same mistake. So just for everyone listening in, I think everyone says you got to enjoy your failures. We bought a cafe in Derby, didn't take the advice that we should have done. £150,000 later, and a lot of hours put into that business. That's why, whilst we're still consultants, Louise and I, we're at different ends of the country, can't support one another emotionally. And we had this bloody cafe that was taking at least £5,000 worth of money out of us each week at some point. And you're right. If we had the right purpose to get an expert to advise us on whether we should invest our money in that cafe, in that location, they would have said no. And that would have saved us the heartache. And you're absolutely right, Trevor. I think it's people don't like to invest. They see kind of advice as a cost, and actually it's what it's going to cost them by not taking that advice, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So it's 2018. You mentioned about the change, so I won't go into that, but let's talk about the 2018. What are the opportunities to make money? There are, obviously you talked about flips, but you did also say about, be reserved. And so what are the opportunities out there for investors right now, even though Brexit's around the corner and interest rates are increasing?
Well, I'm not slowing down. As I started, at the beginning, I think you mentioned, I bought 3 properties I completed on 3.5 weeks ago, all major refurbs. So I'm buying pretty good, good price. I'm getting in. I mean, one of them, it was on for 125. I offered 100,000. They accepted because I know the agent. They did a very good job for me. The Shawbrook came to sent the surveyor. The surveyor valued the property at 130. Straight as in its present condition. Now I've ripped everything out. I'm spending 20 grand on a refurb, central heating, wiring, everything, and it will be worth 160. And so I will have very little money in and moving on to the next. And I've got 3 like that. I'm completing another 2, if not this week, it'll be next week. I'm offered another one today. I'm offering another one tomorrow, and I'm looking for as many as I can get, but at the right price. When it's the right price, as I said, I will just keep buying. If it's the right mortgage product, the right price, and I know what I'm doing, I'm accelerating as fast as I can.
Okay.
Now, that's what I'm doing.
So you mentioned the word agent. Is it important for you to have a good relationship with the agent? Because there's, when I was starting a property, I used to try and contact 20 agents, and I was probably the idiot along with everyone else trying to tap up the agent with some muffins, but only going in every 3-4 weeks. Do you think, how important is it for you to have that strong relationship with the agent, and how do you start forming that relationship?
Okay, look, nothing qualifies you more than buying. Nothing. All right, because once you can buy, that's great. If you can buy and complete fairly quickly and on time and everything, it's brilliant. The relationship is 2-way. Never forget that, because I can tell you recently, 3 months ago, I'd agreed to buy a property, and the agent said to me, they want to go pretty quickly. Within 3 weeks, they said to me, if you don't exchange within the next 10 days, the vendor has instructed us to put the price up by, I think it was about another £4,000, 3.5.
Wow. Okay.
So I said immediately, I'm out. And they said, pardon? I said, I don't do business like that. I'm out. And I got the manageress called me a week later, because she said, I'm sorry I didn't get the message to call you, Mr. Cutmore. We really want to, do this with you. I don't know, what's happened, but if you can go through. I said, I'm out. I've spent my money on the searches. I've spent my money on the survey. I'm out. I will not do business with you like that. I'm out. So they know that if I go and offer, I will go through, and it will be, as quick as I can do,
Yeah.
but I will not be manipulated. So already I have this reputation that I do complete. With quite a few of the agents I work, but my probably most successful is working with letting agents.
Okay.
Because letting agents are the ones that have the long-term landlords that want to start dumping every now and then on the properties. So from these 5 properties, 3 of them have been direct to vendor.
Wow.
Through a letting agent.
That's impressive, because back to your point, it's that relationship they've already got. And with the Section 24 changes, I'm sure there are going to be landlords out there that would do want a quick exit. So having that relationship with the letting agents is actually quicker than the estate agents.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And that's worked really well. I continue to go forward with that. I've got another letting agent that actually has come to me and said, Trevor, we want to do some marketing in the area. We love what you do with options. Would you mind if we gave you those qualified leads for you to do the options and we'll share it with you? I said, not at all.
Wow.
They would expense all of the money and the legals to set it up. I just negotiate. I go take the leads. I do it. It's theirs, but I get 50% share and I put nothing in other than my expertise.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Do you know what? That was the first time I've heard it that way. It's amazing when you can flip something just to say, well, look at it from one side, but then actually just for a second, look at it from the other side, and what can you learn from that? And that's just such a powerful, powerful thing. So thank you ever so much for that. So we talked before tonight. We said about the table 12. You said there's no offer right now. So I completely understand that. Before anything was said, I said to Trevor, for everyone listening, that Optimize will never accept kickbacks or commissions. That's just, we think Trevor's great. We love what he does, how he is. I think people like each other. And that's true of Trevor as well. So whenever we offer someone services out to you or say you should speak to this person, it's not because there's a commission coming back to us. It's because we feel that they are trusted and that you should go and speak to them. There's something about integrity as well, which is really high on my agenda. And I think Trevor has certainly got that. So, I appreciate there's nothing really on the table, but, come on, don't leave me hanging. Is there anything at all that you could give to our audience tonight?
Well, look, very much with the table of 12, if you are interested and you don't really know me, so I do put on a day's training, which I give a bit of an introduction, but you get plenty of information, enough actually to go on and actually secure a lead through an option.
Right.
But spending a day with me training will give you an idea of who I am, and obviously I get to see who you are, and you'll have a better idea, and then I can talk more about what a table of 12 is. So what I'm doing is I've set a date on the 27th of October. It's a Saturday. It would be a one-day course on options, and it will be run in Nottingham, venue to be determined. If you would like that, normally I would charge $499, but for people on here, it will be $299. Okay.
Right. Okay. That's lovely.
Like that, just send me an email to trevor@tableof12.co.uk. That's all in words.
And would you put that on our for clients, especially for everyone else that can who's non-clients, but for clients, would you put that on our Facebook group, Trevor?
Yeah, surely, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great. That
would be a pleasure. All right.
Given it's Nottingham, it would be. What date did you say? 18th of September. So that's a
7th of October. It's a Saturday.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'll be coming into this just to say hi to you on that one. Why would I not in Nottingham? The sunny Nottingham sites. And I'm sure that Rob Comer, by the way, he's Lincoln based. So he's one of our tax advisors, probably the most senior one guy who does all the tax stuff. So I'm sure. Oh, thank you for putting that on the site as well. And I will ping that out to everyone tomorrow as well. But yeah, Rob does buy properties in Lincoln as well, so it'd be interesting to see you guys hook up and introduce yourselves to one another. But again, just want to say thank you ever so much, Trevor, for tonight. Great value, as I would have expected, to be fair. What a man of your kudos. So I do appreciate that genuinely in terms of the kind of information that you've been providing with us tonight. And I will not forget the contact the letting agent instead of the estate agent to go and buy yourself some properties. I think that's great.
Well, you befriend them. You know, I put one out to lunch today, and he came with his kids, and it's very, very powerful when they start to work with you. You know, I don't always use all letting agents, but I want to befriend them, and you know, invite them out, have a lunch or something, and really just talk around the subject. You know, one I saw today, it's a probate. Well, you know, I've just gently offering and said, look, the guy's died, he's left one property. And I said, well, look, it showed me and said, it's in a terrible mess. I said, well, how about I do a service for him?
Right.
Beneficiary. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah. It's absolute brilliant stuff. So again, thank you ever so much, Trevor, for this evening. And as I mentioned to everyone listening in, I appreciate it's not a tax call that you've listened to tonight. These interviews are meant to be about giving greater value. So if you liked what we was talking about tonight and you're looking for an accountant or a tax advisor, please go on to www.optimizeaccountants.co.uk and we'll talk about Generate Our Services, which Jan Minty, who's online, you'll be speaking to her. Don't forget as well that you can, if as a client, you can get this on the app in the next few days. So I'll be getting that onto the page. We do have a Facebook group. So we advertise most of our webinars on the Facebook group. So make sure you come over to Optimize Accountants, press like. That's the best way to learn all about our upcoming webinars. And indeed, if you liked our podcast, and this will be a podcast as well, we'll be putting that onto the Optimize Accountants iTunes, and then you can listen to it there. And eventually we'll also have it on our YouTube channel as well. And all you need to do is press subscribe and you will get information about our channels. That leaves me just to say thank you ever so much. Our next webinar is Section 24 Mortgage Interest Relief. We're going to be on the 21st of August talking about new content around mortgage interest relief, about how it affects you, not just in terms of your profitability and how much tax you're going to have, but other impacts it has as well. Things like your child benefit, your personal allowance. And there are some things that you need to figure out before everyone jumps into incorporation. It may not be the holy grail as people keep pointing out. Go on, Trevor.
Well, funny enough, my two properties down in Cornwall are unfortunate, but they are holiday lets. And so although I own them in my own name, they're exempt from the Clause 24. So
they are.
I've actually spoken to people and said, look, if you, it depends where it is, but if you make it in that class of a holiday let, then you can actually sidestep it, which is a very nice way to exit.
Absolutely. And there you go. There's the wonderful Trevor giving some tips even on Section 24. So thank you ever so much. Before I go, just see if there's any more kind of questions that came up. Trevor, also someone, Alexandra, is saying, Trevor, PM 27th of October is mentorship program. Are you running a mentorship program on the 27th of October?
No, it's going to be a one-day option training day. So
okay, this is the one we just talked about, which is in September, not in October, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, it's in October. It's going to be Saturday, 27th of October.
Okay, my fault. So if you make sure you send the details, I'll put that onto the email tomorrow. In fact, where can I get the details of that, Trevor? Is that on your website, the option one?
No, not yet. No, I've really just done it. People have been asking me. I haven't set it up because I've been project managing, which has been fun just to go back and do it for a little bit, back on the cold face. But I will get it set up and let people know. All right, I'll get it on the website.
Listen, everyone, it's been a pleasure as always. I love doing these interviews. I get so much value and I get such a buzz by doing these interviews. You learn something new, but also it's all about connecting people and day. So, Trevor, thank you ever so much. Have a great evening, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.